back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today, I have two young superstar real estate agents with us to learn what they are doing. One is a top producer at her brokerage. The other was Rookie of the Year. They both worked briefly in the medical field before making the move over to real estate. Let's welcome these two friends with Exit One Stop Realty, Hannah Collins Flakus and Madison Yates to the show. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
If we sound fast to the audience listening, it's because I had to do a little retake, but we are back in action. That's when you produce your own show and things like that happen. So,
isn't technology?
Love it.
Both of you grew up in the area.
Yes.
Born and raised. You guys played softball together at one time, but didn't go to the same high schools.
Right.
Okay. But Madison, I'm going to kick off for you. Tell us a little about growing up here in Jacksonville and going to Bishop Kenny, and then eventually you went go on to UNF, and tell us a little about what you visualize yourself as a career moving forward as a young person.
Yeah. So, like you said, I born and raised here, went to BK, loved it, and then ended up getting a full ride to UNF, which is why I chose to go to UNF. I wanted to go in other places, but when you get a full ride, you got to go with it. So, I envisioned myself being a PA, so a physician's assistant. Going through private school, you see the main track of like doctors, lawyers being super successful. So that's kind of what I had in mind, and really wanted to move forward with that. I also knew that student loans were going to be at play, and that was kind of like, I don't want to take all this debt on, even though I'll be making great money as a PA if I make it through. Student debt is kind of scary. So that's what kind of got my mind thinking, what else can I do that's non-conventional? And my mind kind of drew to real estate. You have the idea of real estate HGTV. TV. I can never say that.
HGTV.
Yeah.
Get that tongue down and
exactly
your teeth together.
Yeah, but that was kind of my idea going into it. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And I mean, it's still great. But
Hannah's sitting right next to you. Obviously, she's got about 12 months on you as far as being in the career. I mean, were you watching what she was doing and interacting with her? And, obviously there must have been a period of time where you were thinking about it. It wasn't like, you know what, I'm done with this tomorrow. I'm going to start real estate.
Yeah, no. I was definitely like stalking her account, like for a little bit there.
She DM'd me on Instagram.
I slid in. I was like, hey girl, like, what's it like? What's going on? Like, honestly, the main question I asked to you and to Rebecca Forbes, who's another agent with Exit, was what's the daily, day-to-day life? You can't put that into words. Every day changes.
Right.
And I couldn't get that through my head. I was like, you make your own schedule. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, you should know what your day-to-day, you can't tell people what it is. So she invited me to one of the classes at Exit, and I got to sit in and kind of understand, like, one of the small parts of, like, what it is to be a real estate agent. And I love the environment and all that stuff. So I mean, we kind of talked in detail. She told me the course she used, which
it was a little simple DM, and she just was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Can you kind of explain to me, like, what you do and if you like it? And was
she your first official sponsorship that you technically are credited for?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So me and Rebecca both split her because we both knew Maddie.
Yeah.
And so it's a 5%. That's the beautiful thing about Exit is you can sponsor people in. I don't like to say recruit because that sounds very salesy and people don't like to be recruited. But yes, I get a piece of everything that Maddie does. And so this year has been very great. I love my surprise bonuses in my bank account. But I get 5% of what she does up to $5,000. And so if you sponsor in somebody, if I, like one of my friends, she just joined from Providence, who I went to school with, I sponsored her, and so I'm going to get 10% of everything she does up to $10,000 for a year. Right. So.
And let's be clear to those who are not in the real estate business, maybe friends who might be watching that actually don't. It's not 10% of the sale, or like an agent might get 3 or 6% if they're doing both sides or whatever. It's actually what their actual commission is.
Correct.
They're getting a little piece of that action here, but it adds up.
Yeah.
Your dad's told me over the year. I mean, he's been in the business 15 plus years or whatever. It adds up as you're in the business and
it's incredible. And
casually just talking to people, or people come to you a lot of times, right?
Yeah, and if you think about it, like, if I had 5 agents who were successful top producing agents at their brokerage come over to Exit and I sponsored them in to our brokerage and they were doing $10,000 worth for me to receive that, that's an extra 50 grand that I'm getting per year.
Right.
And people don't realize that. And you can bring that into your retirement too. Like, even if you retire, you still are like their sponsor, you just get less of a percentage. So the percentages change, and we would love to talk to people about sponsoring.
If you just put that into some investment vehicle, you actually discipline yourself that I'm not going to use that for
put everything
vacation.
I get
That's
from
actually
sponsoring
going into my retirement fund. You could do that, especially obviously you guys at a young age aren't really thinking about that, but if you want to be able to retire early or whatever, doing those type of things. Yeah. Hannah, you grew up here.
I did.
You go to Providence.
I went to Providence, kindergarten through 12th grade. I was ready to get out of Jacksonville. So I was not like Maddie. I left.
Hey, I would have left too, but
I'm a homebody, so it was difficult. But I went to FAU, Florida Atlantic University, down in Boca. I was there for 4 years. Well, not really. I graduated early. I was a go-getter, and I took a lot of credits every semester because I was like, I don't want to be here 4 years if I don't have to. And I was in college during COVID, so it kind of changed things too, like doing online classes and stuff like that. But I was in a sorority there. I was an 80 Pi. I majored in exercise science. I was hoping to go into physical therapy and realized I didn't want to go to school for 3 more years. I would rather get married and have a kid, which is not the normal mindset, but tried shadowing physical therapy. I really did like it, but then realized how much it costs to go to physical therapy school, and I just wasn't ready to swallow that pill yet. Jumping into student loans is scary, and I just didn't want to have to deal with that. So,
well, I mean, just you have to be some sort of passion, right? I mean, it's because now you come to a juncture, right? You finish your undergrad, you're like, do I want to continue doing this? Am I really excited about it?
Yeah, well, and I think I had the heart for helping people and helping people get better, and I liked that side of it. But the side of being in an office or a hospital or whatever it was for 5 days a week for 12-hour shifts or whatever it was, I was like, that doesn't excite me. Like, that does not make me excited about helping people, and that's what I love to do. So I was like, maybe I should try, pediatrics or whatever. So I ended up switching my mindset, and I was like, well, maybe I should try nursing. Nursing's a little different. I could work like 3 days on, 4 days off, whatever it was. I was like, the schedule thing sounds much better to me. Tried being a nursing assistant at a hospital in town, and I was on a unit. I think it was a renal med-surg unit, and I realized this is not for me. It was a bunch of older people, very sad atmosphere. People were overworked. Towards the end of COVID, I saw a lot of things I didn't want to see. Just was sad.
Well, since we're on take 2, but you've going back because you were talking about sad, which a lot of times you walk into a hospital. I guess maybe unless you're in the where they're having babies, right? That for the most part, hopefully most of the time, that can be sad too. It's just something happened, but I'm trying to think of what you would go to the hospital for something that would be
good,
joyous, right?
I know. I mean,
you really think about it.
Well, and I would get in trouble on my unit because like we were understaffed and we didn't have enough people, and I was in charge of like 12 rooms at one time by myself with nurses, and I would get in trouble for sitting in people's rooms who were lonely. Like, they were like, I just want to talk to people. I want they didn't have family members coming to visit them. And I would sit in there and be like, you want to color? Like, let's color. Let's watch an episode of something on TV. And I would get in trouble because I'm like sitting there almost like babysitting them in a way. And I'm supposed to be out working, but that's my heart. Like, I would rather spend time with the people, have the relationship. I feel bad for them, you know?
Agreed.
So that's where my heart was.
So a new question. With your both of you have the background, you wanted to help people, that you feel you're comfortable doing that. Being in especially in the hospital, you're walking in and you are in control of that conversation because you are the authority in the room, dealing with whoever illness or whatever it might be. How do you translate that now as young people? You're 24, Matt, you say maybe 23, 24 years old, and now you're working with those older customers. But you still have that take charge of the room type attitude that a medical person typically has. Because if a medical person doesn't come in and take charge of the room, the person sitting there is going,
so uncomfortable.
Do I trust you? Do I not trust you?
How do you ever think about that part of the psychology when you're talking to older buyers and sellers?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think the medical field helped me tremendously when it comes to conversation, problem solving, and active listening. That is really what has gotten me into conversations where they look at me and they're like, you're very young. I don't know if I should trust you with my house, my biggest investment I've ever made. But then I open my mouth and they're like, you've been doing this for years? Like, and I'm like, sure. No.
You're an old soul.
Yeah. So, I mean, just being super active listening, taking what they're saying and then putting it into action, realizing that you're understanding what they're saying. Because a lot of people, they just don't understand what they're asking for. So just really like understanding your customer and just doing what needs to be done. Yeah. So active listening is a big.
Listening is definitely one of the most important things in our business.
Agreed. Yeah.
I mean, if you're not listening to somebody and you're just running the show, it's like, how can they trust you?
Right.
They get to know you as a person. They just know you as their transaction coordinator, basically.
Exactly.
So, Matt, transitioning over, like I said, you told me a little bit about your parents earlier. They worked very hard, put you in the best schools that they could possibly put you in.
Yeah.
Hopefully to give you this path. And then you go in. And really, I think some of our biggest naysayers in life can be people who are closest to us. And I know you guys have been doing some personal developments, just listening to your talk, where they're saying, it's the 5 people you hang around with. I got, this book up here by Heather Monahan. The villains are those naysayers in our life. When you started talking to those who are close to you and love you about, I think I may want to do real estate. What's kind of the reaction in the room that you're getting?
Well, when they knew I was going, I wanted to go the medical route. They were like, "Oh yeah, do it. That'd be great. That'd be a great pivot from where your family's has come from." Yeah. And then when I mentioned real estate, they were like, "That's kind of a hard one, you have to make your business you don't have anybody guiding you. Like I didn't have a dad that was in the business. I have had great mentors, but nobody that." I don't know. I was gonna
you weren't even familiar.
Your
with
aunt wasn't in the business.
Yeah.
There's no cousins, nothing,
No.
or best friend or anything. Well, I mean, no older best friend.
Right.
Like you're one of your parents' best friends.
Yeah.
Who may have had influence on them, saying, "Well, Sally over here,
Yeah.
we've known her for 20 years and she does great."
Yeah. So they were looking at me and they're like, "You just opened a whole new world, and I don't even know how to guide you." It was really they couldn't guide me, and they'd never started a business, so even the LLC, doing all that stuff, was just figure it out. This is me just YouTubing stuff and asking my mentor, and that's really the resources I've been using. So yeah, they were like, yeah, maybe just try to go into nursing and do real estate on the side, try to have a set career. And I was like, real estate is a set career. It can be if I work hard enough for it. So that's really, right now I'm showing them up is what I'm doing.
Well, has the conversation changed?
Oh yes. Yeah. They see that
now they're trying to find people to refer you.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. No, yeah. I mean, I just bought a house. My